Good evening and welcome to the Daily Report. My name is Victor Muyakane. It's been a lovely day. I hope it's been the same for you. Thank you for choosing us to inform you this evening. For the next hour or so, Catherine Similoy on Sign Language and I will be taking you through the latest in the news happening across your world. Later on as well, we shall be linking up with our team at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport to receive the reigning Miss Universe, who's coming into the country, of course, and we'll be connecting with our ladies for the Miss Universe Kenya Grand Finale happening on 16th, which is tomorrow. That's something that's going to be coming to you live on TV47, the home of untold stories, the home of Miss Universe Kenya. And a little bit later on as well, we shall be having a conversation on the subject of youth unemployment in Kenya. It's a big problem. What solutions exist? What innovations exist to try and solve this age-old problem? Considering, of course, that a youth bulge is coming. A greater than ever before population of young people seen on the continent of Africa. All that and so much more later on. But first, the highlights. Have you seen her? Kenya's Under-20 Rising Stars captain Jane Hatto goes missing ahead of the match against Ethiopia, with her mother reporting the case to the DCI.
Saa 3 kufika nikapigiwa simu na management ya police, wakaniambia Jane Hatto yuko wapi, gari inaenda airport na hajafika mpaka GSU.
Tushangilie kwa makofi mazuri mwenyekiti akiweza kupokezwa.
Pomp and color in Eldoret in Uasin Gishu County as President William Ruto granted a city charter and seal to Eldoret municipality, officially elevating it to city status.
Do hereby ordain, declare and direct that the municipality of Eldoret has been conferred with city status.
I, Douglas Kanja Kirocho, do swear that the evidence I shall give before this committee.
Police Inspector General nominee Douglas Kanja at pains to explain how he plans to address the matter of police using excessive force when controlling protests. I welcome you to tonight's bulletin. It's my pleasure and honor to serve you. We begin with matters police, and the Inspector General of Police nominee, that is Douglas Kanja, was hard-pressed by the Parliamentary Joint Security Committee to explain just how the police handled the Gen Z protests where Kenyans were killed with hundreds injured despite being unarmed. MPs seeking to understand how he will protect Kenyans and Parliament in case of another emergency. And as our parliamentary reporter Elizabeth Mutuku reports, Kanja has promised to deal with the corruption menace in the police service. Take a look.
It was a date for the Inspector General of Police nominee Douglas Kanja to appear before Parliament's Joint Security Committee to defend his suitability.
Truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
Kanja, who are served in the National Police Service for 39 years, was hard-pressed over how police handled the youth-led demonstrations where tens of young people were killed in the hands of police.
You are the Deputy IG, correct? Do you think you handled the demonstrations well?
We have IPOA. We have the ODPP. And even now, as you speak, I know there are several investigations that are ongoing in relation to what happened.
Kanja regretting the invasion of Parliament by protesters as he told the committee that despite of adequate preparations, they were overwhelmed by protesters who invaded and destroyed sections of Parliament.
What is the assurance and the confidence of the police service to ensure security and safety of Parliament in case of any other security threat or emergency?
IG, this is an area that we cannot allow anyone to come around joking around with this parliament. So for me, I will do whatever it takes to ensure that this parliament is safe and secure as the IG.
MPs also raised numerous concerns about the persistent security challenges in the North Rift counties and were keen to hear how the newly appointed Inspector General plans to address the complex issue of insecurity, Kancha assuring the committee that he will utilize technology to track down and neutralize cattle rustlers.
Do you think should be done by you differently in liaison with the government so that we can put the matters in security in the North Rift to arrest?
Be able to leverage on technology. That way, if some animals are stolen from that end, they are brought here in Nairobi for sale, we can actually be able to track them and get the criminals and ensure that those who have committed those crimes are taken behind bars.
On the issue of corruption, which has been painting the service badly, Kancha promised to see to it that the menace is dealt with accordingly.
That appointed the IG, because we know what is the regulation says, what is the conduct, how is the police supposed to conduct itself. We are very much aware of that. So once Chair am approved, I'm going to deal with this issue.
The National Assembly and Senate Joint Security Committee, co-chaired by Gabriel Tongoyo and William Cheptumo, is expected to table a report before the bicameral House to approve or disapprove the appointment of Kancha. Elizabeth Mutuku, TV47, Nairobi.
Still on matters police, the Independent Policing Oversight Authority, that is IPOA, is investigating cases of abductions of a total of 19 people. A figure that is much lower than the 66 figure, which was the number issued by the Kenyan National Human Rights Commission as the people abducted during the anti-government protests. And as Mike Kagwongo reports, IPOA leadership is complaining of insufficient funds to effectively sustain operations of policing police officers.
The jurisdiction of the Independent Policing Oversight Authority, IPOA, is yet again on the balance after questions persist over the effectiveness of the civilian police watchdog. Speaking before the National Assembly's Constitutional Implementation and Oversight Committee Thursday, chaired by Githunguri MP Gathoniwa Mushoba, IPOA CEO Elena Halake said their investigations revealed that 50 people died during the anti-government protests in June and July. The Kenya National Commission on Human Rights had put the figure at 60.
These cases and data we are referring to, these are cases we have verified ourselves. We have sent our officers to mortuaries, we have sent our officers to the hospitals, and we have confirmed.
Halake said they have already submitted 4 files to the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions and are waiting for his action in as far as charging police officers implicated in the shooting of protesters is concerned. However, the CEO raised the issue of lack of funds, hampering the authority's independence in investigating cases of police brutality.
And no wonder you are being denied budgets and funding because you seem not to be operating. You seem to be in bed with the people you're supposed to be oversight.
Is there anyone who has been arrested or even convicted on the same?
Honorable Chair, I want to confirm that we are seriously constrained on resources. And we have continuously engaged with the relevant parliamentary committee.
About a month ago, IPOA blamed top security bosses for being an impediment in discharging its mandate. The IPOA Act requires that police report to the authority whenever every shot is discharged by police officers to ensure accountable use of force, hence giving the authority an automatic mandate to be in charge of such probes. Mike Kagwongo, TV47, Nairobi.
Now, the under-20 national women's team captain, Jane Hatto, is still missing. This is after she was discovered to have disappeared on Wednesday night in Nairobi. the day that she was supposed to travel to Ethiopia on an international assignment. The whereabouts of the Kenya Police Bullets FC midfielder are still unknown, and the Directorate of Criminal Investigations is burning the midnight oil to find the teenager. Tony Kwalanda is on this beat.
On Wednesday night, Jane Hato spent the day training with her club, Kenya Police Bullets, at Police Sacco Stadium in Nairobi County. Later in the evening, Hato rushed home to prepare for their trip to Ethiopia for the CAF Women's Champions League zonal qualifiers.
Na nikamwambia chukua basi Uber juu ni mzigo uko nazo, hiyo bagenyu ni mzito sana juu alikuwa mbeba equipment mingi sana za Kenya Police. Kaniambia niko sawa mama, ndachukua pikipiki hapa chini kwa ule mtu ananiperekaga. Nikamwambia it's okay. So mimi sikumzindikisha, nikabaki na mtoto mdogo.
The pickup point for Hato and other players was at the GSU headquarters at Allsops in Nairobi before being ferried to Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. Hato, however, never arrived at the pickup point.
Nikachukua simu, nikaanza kumpigia. Mara ya kwanza simu yake ilikuwa inaingia na ishikwi. So tukadhani tu ni kuchelewa kidogo, nikawaambia wamngojea maybe 15 minutes. Gari ilingoja 15 minutes ndio gari ikatoka. Akasema after 15 minutes gari ilitoka.
Hato's mother received the dreaded call as the rest of the team boarded their flight to Addis Ababa.
So police pia walikuwa wananiuliza kwa wapi, nikapigia kila mtu mpaka teammates wake wa police wakaniambia ati hawakumuona. Last walimwambia wapande Uber moja, akasema ati yeye kuna mali atapitia.
A missing person report was made at Molem and Obama police stations in Kayole.
Ikafika saa 4 simu ikazimwa. Saa 5 wakafika airport, wakicheck in, bado Jane Hato hajafika airport na wakiuliza bado yuko wapi. So hiyo saa 5 simu ikazimwa kabisa. Inazimwa ikiakishwa, inazimwa ikiakishwa.
At one point, Hato's phone was located in Juja, Kiambu County.
Ilizimwa last saa 5 akiwa Juja. So hapo ndio tukasikia. So nimefika hapa DCI, nimepatia na report yangu. So the latest information ile nasikia tena ni that nikapigiwa simu nikiko hapa DCI that ati anaonekana Hispania, Migori kwa hospitali inaitwa Nyayo.
The skipper has represented Kenya in top competitions and it is our hope that she is found in one piece. Tony Kwalanda, TV47 Sport in the capital.
Indeed, if you have any information about the whereabouts of Jane Hato, please do not hesitate to report this to the nearest police station. In other news, President William Ruto has today awarded Eldoret municipality city status, making it the 5th city in Kenya after Nairobi, Mombasa, Nakuru and Kisumu. President Ruto awarded the municipality that serves as Uasin Gishu headquarters a city charter and a seal, a move that was welcomed by leaders and locals from the region.
I, Kipchirchir William Samoei Ruto.
It's now official that Eldoret, a town that has grown from a settlement center to a vibrant municipality, is a city.
Do hereby ordain, declare and direct that the municipality of Eldoret has been conferred with city status.
This is after President William Ruto today, during an event at Eldoret Sports Club in Uasin Gishu County, awarded the home of champions a city status.
Eldoret has undergone dramatic transformation, growing from a sleepy farming center to a bustling metropolis.
This makes Eldoret the 5th city in Kenya after Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu and Nakuru. Ruto was accompanied by a host of leaders, among them Uasin Gishu Governor Jonathan B, said that the move will provide investment opportunities to locals and Kenyans at large.
It has established itself as a recognized hub for serious investment in agro-industrial and agribusiness, biomedical and medical, trade and commerce, tourism and hospitality, sporting and entertainment, and finance and technology.
This achievement marks the beginning of new opportunities and prosperity for all who live, work, and do business in Eldoret.
The head of state said that Eldoret has met requisite requirements for it to become a city under Section 7 of the Urban Areas and Cities Act. Conferment of Eldoret to a city status has been welcomed by locals.
We look forward to improved businesses. We look forward also to improved infrastructure, road networks.
And Eldoret City come with so many opportunities, especially for the young people. And now we are in tech, and we know that technology will keep growing, and smart city comes in.
Naamini ya kwamba biashara, investors wengi watatembelea Eldoret.
As a tourism industry, we are actually very expectant from what we've actually seen today.
The leaders at the event said that the new status will place Eldoret as a business hub. Just like other 4 cities in the country, leaders say that Eldoret, that has a population of about 1 million people, has shown a significant milestone that marks growth and development. Reporting for TV47, I'm Violet Auma.
All right, and on to another celebration, not the run-up to one. The reigning Miss Universe 2023, Shyness Palacios, has just arrived in the country, visiting Kenya for the first time before touring other African countries. This historic visit comes as a lead-up to the finals of the Miss Universe Kenya competition, set to take place on Friday in Nairobi. Let us now cross over to the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, where Shiksha Arora is standing by. Hello, Shiksha. How are you? Can you hear me?
At the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, where we are going to be receiving Miss Universe from Nicaragua. Her name is Shyness Palacios. 6 months ago, she became the first woman from Central America to become Miss Universe, and also making history by becoming the first woman in Nicaragua, as well, her country, to get that crown. So we're going to find out what her plans are for Kenya, of course, ahead of the Miss Universe Kenya competition tomorrow. That's where the grand finale takes place, and she will be the chief guest, and of course she'll be helping the current Miss Universe to crown the incoming Miss Universe Kenya. So let's find out what's happening over here as we await her arrival. You can see right there we have traditional dances just to make her feel at home, because we are in Kenya, and in Kenya we receive them in style, and that's what the placard looks like right here. So she's probably going to be taking some photos over here, and of course these are the dances. As you can see, the mood is electric right now. Yeah, we're dancing. Absolutely electric right here, and I can't wait to find out what she thinks of Kenya. It's her first time in Africa, her first time in Kenya, and we are very excited to host her right here on Cape Media as TV47. I am Shiksha Arora. I'll be giving you the live updates as she walks right through those doors, and we'll be getting to know what she feels about Africa, about Kenya, and right here we are going to tell her, Karibu Kenya. Over to you, Victor. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Shiksha. You can see the energy. It's electric. It's palpable. You can cut the tension in the air with a knife. And this is TV47, the home of untold stories. We'll keep you updated on that. And by the way, the Miss Universe Kenya competition is right here on TV47. You don't get it anywhere else. And if you recognize the voice that's speaking to you, it's also the voice of the announcer on the Miss Universe Kenya competition. We'll keep you updated on that. We'll be right back with a little bit more content after this. But right now, let's move on with the rest of the news. Now, the government has intensified efforts to locate 2 foreign nationals who were kidnapped in Moyale in Marsabit County. The 2, identified as David Lee and Hibisok Chion, were allegedly abducted on Monday by unknown individuals. And Reem Kilemi with the details.
Speaking after a meeting with security officers from the Eastern Region, Deputy Inspector General of Police Gilbert Masengeli assured residents of Marsabit County that a rigorous search operation is underway to ensure the safe return of the 2 foreign nationals who were kidnapped on Monday.
Bado tunafuatilia
hawajapatikana, bali kuna leads ambazo tunafuata na tuna imani watapatikana.
The two, identified as David Lee and Huey Sok Chion, were allegedly abducted Monday by unknown individuals.
Na pia tuna appeal kwa wananchi, kama kuna mwenye na habari apate kushare na serikali kwa njia moja ama nyingine, ili tupate kufanya, kwa sababu ni mtu alikuwa hapa, yeye hayuko kwa siasa, missionary, amejenga mashule, amejenga boreholes kusaidia maskini.
Earlier this week, 8 people were shot dead and their bodies burned in the Forole area near the Kenya-Ethiopia border, while 2 others were left with serious injuries.
Kile imetendeka leo hatukujua na hatuelewi nini ilisababisha, lakini vile tunaona hii ni maneno tu ya kutoka Ethiopia ambao wanapigana na OLF na serikali yao.
The incident occurred 3 days after a tractor owned by Ethiopians was set ablaze by unknown assailants. Andrin Kilemi, TV47.
Now, the Mombasa High Court has halted the road maintenance levy fund increase, which is from 18 Kenya shillings to 25 Kenya shillings, effected in the month of July by the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority. That was an increase of about 7 shillings, which the courts dismissed due to lack of public participation. This comes at a time when the Kenya National Highways Authority wants to introduce toll stations on some of the major roads in the country in order to maintain the roads. We shall be keeping you up to date on this story. The matter of the toll stations which are proposed to be introduced on our highways, as well as the matter of that levy. We shall be keeping you up to date on that. But to other news, the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers, that is Cooperative, has today empowered its Secretary General to issue a strike notice within 7 days. This is after considering a failure by the Teachers Service Commission to address their grievances. The union has presented a set of demands that must be met before 26th of August. Otherwise, they will strike on the 28th of this month.
Tano wa National Governing Council ya Kenya Union Post-Primary Education Teachers Cooperative. Na hii ndio muungano ambama chombo ambacho kawaida kinapoitwa ndio kinaweza idhinisha mgomo wa walimu. Na leo hii wamekaa, wamesikizana na wamesema kuanzia tarehe 26 mwezi wa 8 mwaka wa 2024 walimu wote ambao ni wanachama hii na walimu wote ambao wako kwa mashule hawataenda shuleni. Kwa hivyo mgomo wa walimu utakuwa umeanza kirasmi. Tunaambia wazazi kwamba tarehe 26 usidhubutu kupeleka mtoto shuleni sababu walimu hawatakuwepo.
Now, many families have been rendered homeless after a fire which began at 10 p.m. on Wednesday night and burnt all the building structures at Line Saba Ward in Kibera, Nairobi County. These residents are now urging the government to issue them with title deeds, which they say could help them curb cases of suspicious fire incidents.
This is the aftermath of the raging fire at Line Saba in Kibera that rendered more than 100 people homeless.
Tuliadhiriwa na moto saa 4 ya usiku, ilianza saa 4 ya usiku ambayo ni vijana wawili walikuwa wanapika na stove na ikaripuka, na badala ya kuitana walifunga mlango na wakaondoka. Na mimi nilikuwa nimelala na watoto 3 wadogo. Wakati nilisikia moshi nilitoka nje nikakuta moto imewaka, hata hatuwezi kupata pahali ya kupitia. Ya kustua kwanza ni simamoto
Tulipiga zimamoto wakati huo, lakini zimamoto ya kwanza ilikuja saa 7. Na wakati ilikuja saa 7 haikukuwa na maji. Ilibidi ya pili ikuje ikawa iko na maji kidogo.
Due to the frequent fire incidents at Kibera, the agitated residents called on the government to issue them with title deeds so that they can build permanent houses.
It has been now a menace of fire, especially in Kibera. The problem is about the structure that we are living in.
Kwa tumeapply kitu inaitwa title deed. Tafadhali mkitupea haraka tutatengeneza hizi nyumba zetu vile hazitarudi kuchomeka tena.
Peo taito tujenge nyumba, tuna watoto, Mungu atatusaidia. Ule ako na nguvu ajenge nyumba yake ya mawe.
Residents are now hoping that the government will give in to their complaints and put an end to the disasters. Anastasia Mkabi, TV47, Nairobi.
Now to politics, and tonight the embattled UDA Secretary General Cleophas Malala has claimed that UDA chairperson and Embu Governor Cecily Mbarire and Kikuyu Member of Parliament Kimani Ichung'wah were behind the impeachment plot against Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. Malala, who spoke 2 weeks after his ouster, said he was removed from the party ranks after he failed to cooperate in the impeachment plot that was supposed to be sanctioned from the party headquarters. And as Apollo Kamau reports, Malala has termed his ouster as a coup.
2 weeks after his ouster from the ruling party headquarters, embattled UDA Secretary General Cleophas Malala has come out to spill the beans, claiming party chairperson Cecily Mbarire and Kikuyu MP Kimani Ichung'wah removed him from the party for refusing to play ball in a plot to impeach Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua.
These senior officials are Mrs. Cecily Mbarire and Mr. Kimani Ichung'wah, MP for Kikuyu constituency. That my ouster by the above officials had nothing to do with incompetence or my inability to run the UDA party, but was a well-choreographed script intended to climax with the impeachment of the Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua.
Malala, who termed his ouster as a coup, defended President William Ruto from the impeachment plot that was allegedly being hatched from the party headquarters, and instead trained his guns on the two whom he says want to defraud the party and have even attempted to forge signatures of the Deputy President and himself to access party bank accounts.
Let it be known that the planned impeachment of the Deputy President had nothing to do with President William Ruto, the broad-based government, or any other narrative the coup plotters have advanced. The impeachment had everything to do with egocentric 2027-2032 politics from the Mount Kenya region.
While on a joint working tour with President William Ruto in the Mount Kenya region of Kirinyaga last week, DP Rigathi Gachagua read the riot act to Mount Kenya MPs behind the impeachment plot, terming it as nonsense.
Documentary evidence of efforts by the two with their accomplices to defraud the party, as well as manufacturing minutes of non-existent party meetings and forging the signatures of the Deputy President and myself in attempts to access the party's bank accounts.
Apol Kamau, TV47.
And still on matters politics, the former Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka is now urging President Uhuru Kenyatta to step in and bring stability to the Azimio la Umoja coalition, which is currently divided. However, Kalonzo has dismissed claims that the coalition is no longer on good terms with its smaller political parties. Kalonzo's statement comes amidst an ongoing turmoil within the Azimio coalition. Paul Kirobi reports.
Thursday morning at the United Nations headquarters in Nairobi, during the Africa Youth Forum that brought together a section of youth to find solutions to problems bedeviling them in the country and further discuss governance and political issues. The meeting serving a key purpose particularly for former Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka, who is currently grappling with the challenges arising from the split of the Azimio la Umoja coalition, a development that is increasingly becoming a major concern for him. The Wiper Party leader also using the occasion to urge former President Uhuru Kenyatta to step in and help find a solution to the fallout in the opposition as its members navigate the political landscape leading up to 2027 general election.
Hata chairperson wa Azimio Summit ambaye ni mheshimiwa ambaye amestaafu Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, nadhani ataitisha kikao ili tujadiliane mambo haya kiwaziwazi. Kabla ya haya kufanyika, ni kawaida, by the way, kawaida kwa mambo ya vyama vya kisiasa. Take it from me. Hata hapa amekuwa prime minister hapa, Wakenya wamjui Bode Vichuyu.
2 weeks ago, NARC Kenya Party leader Martha Karua sent a letter to Azimio expressing her intention to withdraw from the coalition following a similar move by her PNU party counterpart Peter Munya. The two leaders made the decision after being excluded from President Ruto's government, which instead included only ODM political leaders, a decision allegedly influenced by Raila Odinga. Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka, on the other hand, had called for a structured dialogue before such decisions were made.
There's no way we will not engage with him going forward, and so that is to be expected until we come to a decision on whether to release him to go completely to African Union and continue campaigning. Right now, I think is in Kinshasa, trying to push.
The presence of former President Uhuru Kenyatta in the proposed meeting will also discuss the way forward for the opposition, as Azimio leader Raila Odinga seeks to clinch the chairmanship position of the African Union Commission. Paul Kirobi, TV47, Nairobi.
And on that note, we want to take a short break. But when we come back, we will have the content we promised you. An interview on the subject matter of the youth unemployment problem in Kenya. But not just the problem, the solutions and innovations available for this. Later on, time allowing, we shall also engage with Shiksha Arora at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport to catch a glimpse of a veritable celebrity, Miss Universe 2023 from the nation of Nicaragua, for the first time in Africa, first time in Kenya, to grace the Miss Universe Kenya competition, which will happen tomorrow. All this and more after the break.
Hey there friends, welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, Grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m.
All right, welcome back. Now for a little bit of news. The Cooperative Bank of Kenya has posted a net profit of 13 billion shillings. This is in the first half of the year ended June 2024. This is compared to 12.1 billion shillings for a similar period last year. This represents a 7.4% growth. And this jump in net profit is powered by net interest income growth, which grew at 10.7% from 21.5 billion shillings to 23.9 billion shillings.
The Nairobi Security Exchange listed lender, which was this week added to the Morgan Stanley Capital International Frontier Markets Index, a move that will increase its stock visibility to our global investors, as closed half year ending June 2024 on a positive note. This is after the bank posted a net profit of 13 billion shillings in the first half of the year ending June 2024, compared to 12.1 billion shillings in a similar period last year, presenting a 7.4% growth. The growth driven by net interest income and no interest income saw the bank's net interest income grow by 10.7% from 21.5 billion shillings to 23.9 billion shillings. The bank's non-interest income grew by 11.2% from 13.8 billion shillings to 15.4 billion shillings. Cooperative Bank Managing Director Gideon Muriuki said the strong performance by the bank is in line with the group's strategic focus on sustainability, growth, resilience and agility, delivering a return on equity of 22.1%. The bank's total operating expenses increased by 11.1% from 19.1 billion shillings to 21.3 billion shillings due to provisioning for loans, losses and paying staffs in its expanded branch network. The bank's asset base grew by 7.8% to 716.9 billion shillings, while customers' deposit increased by 9.4% to 507.4 billion shillings from 463.9 billion shillings. Customer deposit grew by 507.4 billion shillings, a 9.4% increase from 463.9 billion shillings. Shareholders' funds also grew to 126.7 billion shillings, a 17% increase from 108.3 billion shillings in 2023.
In other news, fuel prices for this month remained the same, despite the court ruling nullifying the Finance Act of 2023 and a reduction in landing cost for petrol. While many Kenyans presumed that the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority would effect the VAT reduction back to 16%, the pain at the pump persists, with a contentious 7 shilling hike on the road maintenance levy. But now this pain at the pump persists and still weighs heavily on the pocket of the common Mwananchi.
The 14th day of this month bore no relief for commuters and transporters across the country, despite the hope of reduced fuel prices. This dealt a blow to various assumptions made by Kenyans on a few valid reasons that should have knocked a few shillings off the subjectively exorbitant fuel prices this month. The last month was dotted with protests and threats of strikes from transporters, especially cab drivers, over the hike of the road maintenance levy, an amount the former Transport Cabinet Secretary vehemently assured of no hike. The call to action by the players in transportation fell on deaf ears, as the price per litre figures remained the same in petrol stations on the night of the 14th. Despite a reduction in landing costs for petrol reducing by 1.06%, a figure that may be marginal, but that would have made a difference to Kenyans feeling the pinch of hard economic times. For many, the delay in enforcing the VAT reduction lay with the assumption that the new Attorney General would have to go over them, a feat that had already been accomplished, but the high prices remain. This as the President and the new Treasury Cabinet Secretary hinted at the possibility of a new finance bill to fill the gaps of the scraped 24 Bill and 23 Act, as the country continues using the Finance Act 2022 on double the budget needs for 2024. Now it's a game of wait and see, with all eyes cast on the new cabinet secretaries as they navigate the new murky fiscal tides. Hibak Said for TV47.
Now, Team Kenya athletes who represented the country at the Paris Olympics were today awarded at the Eldoret State Lodge at an event led by President William Ruto. Our reporter, Nzuki Allen, gives us more on that event.
Kenya touched down at the Eldoret International Airport today morning in two different troops. The first in the usual Kenya Airways commercial plane, and the second in a small military plane chartered by the government. Troops were welcomed on ground by Uasin Gishu County Governor Jonathan B., Sports Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen, and various members of parliament, alongside the ever-present traditional dancers. Then set sail for the Eldoret State Lodge, proving that indeed the champions had returned home to Eldoret, the home of champions, as the whole city triumphed in joy and celebration as the motorcade snaked through. On arrival, the athletes led by Captain Faith Kipyegon did the honors of returning the flag handed over by President William Ruto before the Paris Olympics. President William Ruto went on to congratulate the team for stunning performance at the Paris Olympics.
Undertook the calling and understood the burden of shouldering our collective aspirations and dreams as a nation.
The president also praised the team for leading the continent in medals with a total tally of 11 and also lauded them for finishing 17th in the world rankings. Double Olympic champion British Chebet was awarded 6 million Kenya shillings, with a compatriot Faith Kipyegon receiving 5 million Kenya shillings. The new 800-meter Olympic champion Emmanuel Wanyonyi received a cash prize of 3 million Kenya shillings. The silver medalist received 2 million Kenya shillings, while the bronze medalists received 1 million Kenya shillings. Nzuki Allen, TV47 Sports.
All right, thank you, Nzuki Allen. And on that note, the great performance of our young athletes at the Olympics, we begin our conversation. But first, let me orient you to where we are. Now, Kenya is facing something called a youth bulge. We've got over 75% of the population which is aged below 35 years of age. But with a youth bulge comes concerns like unemployment. And youth unemployment in Kenya, there's many different figures here, but some conservative figures put it at about 35%, or about 4.5 million young men and women in Kenya who are unemployed. But also, we've got another challenge that comes with this. Now, this is a big problem. Unemployment is a very, very big problem because a large population of Kenyan youth falls under the youth bracket, or rather the youth bulge that we're talking about. But unemployment rates in Kenya are higher among the youth than the rest. First, of course, we're talking about 10 to 11% overall unemployment rate. But for the youth in particular, it's worrying. Worrying, and it's even worse among women who are disproportionately represented. Now, with us tonight, he's a gentleman who's coming from an organization whose job is to dedicate their time, efforts, insights, ingenuity, and resources to be able to create opportunities for young people to get into employment. Without further ado, karibu sana. Mr. Mukabo, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Thank you for having me, Victor.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Would you care to tell our viewers, where are you from and what do you do there?
My name is Alvin Mkabwa. I'm the Chief Operations Officer with Generation Kenya. And Generation is a youth education to employment program whose mission is to transform education to employment systems to be able to prepare, place and support young people into meaningful employment that will otherwise be inaccessible.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, when you listen to some of these facts, when you look at this, and you work in this industry, you interact, these are not just facts, these are realities on the ground that you interact with. What thoughts come to mind? What do you see when you're interacting with these young people? What do you see?
One, we have to all admit that the problem of youth unemployment is a big problem, and it's multifaceted because on one hand we have a skills mismatch issue. On the other hand, we have economic barriers, we have social barriers. We have young people who on one hand have skills but they can't find a job that matches their skills. On the other hand, we have jobs and there are no young people with the right skills. So I think it's a big problem, and there are different approaches and different players who come in to support. But for us at Generation, we now narrow down to solve this problem of skills mismatch. How do we ensure that we are matching a young person with the right skills to the right job?
All right, yeah. All right. Now, we're coming to that in a bit, but I want you to talk a little more broadly about this challenge. How did we find ourselves here, where we have a youthful population, huge, and the youth were promised they're the leaders of tomorrow. Now, this tomorrow has arrived and there's no leadership. Tomorrow has arrived, there's no opportunity.
Yeah.
The youth were also promised, study, work hard, you're guaranteed a job in a good industry and you will be able to live a good life.
Yeah.
The Kenyan dream, the African dream, the global dream.
Yeah.
It's non-existent. We've got graduates chopping potatoes in restaurants.
Yeah.
We've got other graduates holding up banners on the streets. How did we find ourselves here?
I mean, it's not easy being a young person in this country at this particular time. And as we've highlighted, yes, this problem it comprises of many different issues. On one hand, we know that the main sectors in this country are not able to generate as much employment as the number of young people that we are churning out. On average, we churn out about 1 million plus young people into the job market, but the jobs are not growing.
Every year?
Every year.
Wow.
And the jobs are not growing as much as that number. We have social barriers that these young people are facing, and as you've highlighted, the women are the most marginalized in this case. And so it's many different things. We have the traditional education systems like TVETs, who are meant to be addressing the problem of unemployment through skilling and workforce development, but then there are still gaps existing in between. So it's a mix of different problems, and so the question is, how do we come together as different stakeholders to ensure that we are putting in the right policies, the right infrastructure, the right resourcing, the right skilling to make sure that we are addressing this big problem.
Right. Now, one of the most common things that people talk about is hakuna kazi. There's no jobs. Is this actually true? Are there absolutely no jobs for the people?
Jobs are there. And I think I have to say that in a humble tone, because I think the biggest problem that we are facing is that mismatch that we've just mentioned. And to just take you back, Generation was founded out of a study that was done by McKinsey, where they spoke to employers in very many different countries, and they realized that on one hand, employers are saying that they can't find good entry-level talent, and on the other hand, young people are saying there are no jobs.
Wow.
And so it's a two-sided problem. And so the question is, how do we come in and ensure that we are bridging that gap in terms of that mismatch? How do we make sure that these young people who are saying there are no jobs have the right skills that are needed by employers, and these employers are able to get the right quality of young people at entry level? Okay. But to answer your question, yes, jobs are there.
Jobs are there.
Yes.
So, okay, we've got gaps, and clearly your organization has something of a novel approach in bridging some of these gaps. Talk to us a little bit about what the numbers say when it comes to matching people to their jobs. First, you mentioned something interesting. So it's a two-sided problem. You've got employers on this side and you've got the prospective employees on the other. And none of them seem to find a way to talk to each other or to find each other. Just how big of a problem is this? Just how many people, because you guys have been doing a lot of efforts to solve this, how big of a problem is it on the ground?
It really is a big problem, and I think earlier today we were at a conversation with employer partners in the retail space, and they kept reiterating the same problem, that yes, we do have employment opportunities, we have plans for growth, but we are not finding the right young people. And so the question becomes, how do organizations like Generation come in to ensure that, one, we are making young people aware of the type of skilling opportunities that we provide, but two, we are engaging with the same private sector to ensure that we are providing demand-led training to these young people to be able to address the same problem of employment. Otherwise, if we don't come in and intervene, then the same problem continues. But I do feel like there is a lot that is being done. At Generation, since we were launched 9 years ago, we've been able to support more than 30,000 young people into employment, and 84% of that number has actually transitioned into employment. And so this is something that is doable. The question is, how do we ensure that we're able to reach these young people? We're able to take these programs into areas that are not reachable, but we're also engaging more with private sector. Remember that private sector is the biggest asset that we have, because they're the ones who have the jobs. Are we listening to them in training? Are we engaging them enough? Are we able to work with them to ensure that they are giving us their pain points and the issues that they are facing with young people, so that we can incorporate all this into our trainings? At Generation, we pride ourselves in not being a training institution, but a job matching institution.
Right. Listen, so with about 23,000 people successfully transitioning from training into employment. Clearly, there's something you're doing, and it's something that's needed. Talk to us how we can scale those interventions to make 22,000 become 220,000, for example. What's the missing link? Why would you say your organization and others like you are 22,000 is respectable. Those are guys that wouldn't have had jobs. But how do we make it bigger? How do we make 22,000, 200,000, or 2.2 million? What's the pain? What's a lack?
The lack.
Yes.
I think one is, as just to mention that, yes, much as we've hit that number of 30,000, we still have an ambition of doing an extra 30,000 within the next 5 years.
So you did 30,000 thereabouts in 9 years.
Yes.
But you want to do another 30,000 in
5
years.
Yes.
What do you plan to do different to make that achievable?
One is,
as you talk to us about how to scale.
Yes, one, and to just also address that question of scaling, one is how do we embed ourselves into more public and private partnerships? And for us, we have this big TVET strategy because we believe that if we can support TVETs to be able to do proper workforce development, then they have more permanent structures that are already existing and anchored on government premise and infrastructure, and they can actually be able to achieve more than we could as an organization. And so within our strategy, one of the ways of us expanding and increasing the sustainability of the work that we do is ensuring that we actually capacity build and strengthen TVET institutions to be able to do the work that we do. But beyond that, we want to ensure that we are broadening and expanding our reach, not just within the sectors that we are in at the moment, but how do we grow into other new sectors? How do we reach more young people in the rural areas? How do we grow beyond the cities and ensure that we are able to take employers in this programming to a more diverse population of young people? So it's a bucket of many different things. But that comes with a lot of internal re-strategizing to ensure that we have the right infrastructure and the right personnel to ensure that we are able to achieve and possibly exceed and go beyond the number of 30,000 within the next 5 years.
It sounds like it's not a job for one person. It's an actual army that's needed.
Exactly.
Now, you said something a little interesting earlier. You're matching skills, you're equipping youth with skills, yes. and then you're matching them with employers who demand those skills.
Yeah.
One would argue that it's a little easier for somebody who's actually had a chance to go to school and had a chance to have some sort of training. Our TVETs are some of the best on the continent, and they're doing quite well. Shout out to the Ministry of Education, the Directorate of TVETs, and all the wonderful people there. But one would also say, what about those guys who never actually make it to school? Yeah. What about the guys who fell off the train because of lack of school fees or other social pressures? The guys who never managed to finish their education? The people who, because of that or many other reasons, do not have access to employment, and the people who also do not have access to training.
Yeah.
One would argue that their situation is a little worse.
And that's the type of youth that we actually target.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah, we actually target that underserved group of young people, because what we are trying to showcase here is that if young people have the right skills, and these are young people who've actually either gone up to just class 8 or only Form 4. Our target group of young people is actually Form 4 and below. And we have a diverse portfolio of programs that serve different groups within that group. But what we are saying is that if young people have skills, then they're able to work at the same level or even better than those who have a degree. So there is no hope lost. I think the starting point should be, how do we ensure that we are doing proper skilling? And how we do this at Generation is that we don't start with the training, we start with the employers. Because one of the gaps that we have within our training institutions is that we come up with curricula and training.
And nice courses that sound great on paper.
They don't match with what the employers want. And so for
ground,
it's totally different. And so for us, we first go and speak to the employers to understand what are their pain points.
What are you looking for?
What exactly are you looking for? We do an activity mapping to shadow what exactly is the employer doing. So that by the time we are recruiting this young person, we are recruiting a young person who can actually consume the skills, but also the training curriculum that we make shadows what is happening at work. And so that means that by the time these guys transition from training, they actually don't need apprenticeship. They are ready to work from day one.
Would you care to tell us a little bit about, okay, so what are some of these things that the employers are looking for, but they're not finding, despite the millions of graduates who are looking for jobs, despite the millions of people who believe themselves to be skilled, but are not finding jobs? What are they looking for that is missing in the market?
In the market, one, depending on the different sectors that we focus on, there are different things, but I will say on one bucket is technical skills. How do we ensure that these young people have the right technical skills to actually do the job? If, for instance, today I told you that I want you to come and work for us as a graphic designer, you will need the graphic design skills to be able to actually get the job. But beyond that, it's not that skill that will help you keep the job. We also focus on professional, behavioral, and mindset skills to ensure that these young people are well equipped, one, to thrive on the job, but also to be able to meet the professional environment that the employer is looking for. So it's you have to address all those things, not just the technical skills, but also the professional and behavioral and mindsets of these young people.
So the stuff that actually keeps you in the job.
Exactly.
Beyond your technical skills.
Exactly. So we don't just focus on job attainment, but how do you ensure that you stay in the job 2, 3, 4, 5 years
and you
continue to grow.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, imagine for a second, there's a young person watching us. Now, the people at home, I'm your representative. I am the young person. Whether I look young or not is a whole other conversation. Now, I am the young person. Tell me what the program entails. What are you taking me through? I have barely gone to school. I know how to read and write. I may have a skill or two here. Take me through the course. What happens? What am I expecting to learn? How long does a course take?
So our trainings are boot camp, and they go between 4 weeks to 12 weeks.
4 to 12 weeks. Yeah. Okay. So what am I seeing on the first week? I'm green kabisa. I have no idea. Here I am. I'm hoping to learn something and get something at the end of it. What are you taking me through?
So one, let me take you through the different programs that we offer. At Generation, when we were launched, we started off in the customer service and sales industry. And in this, one of our first programs was the financial service sales program. And here we were training young people how to be able to sell financial products. And once they do this, they're able to work with either insurance companies, they're able to work with banks and other financial institutions. Okay. We also have a retail and restaurant program that where we train young people to be able to work as either stockists, to be able to work as
shop attendants, I imagine.
Stewards and all that. Okay. And we also have a program, a distributed sales program, where we train young people and give them skills to be able to support organizations that we deal with fast consumer moving goods. And so within the financial service sales sector, we have different programs.
So you tailor make it.
Exactly.
And you've talked to the employers, so you know what they're looking for.
We know what they're looking for. All right. Before we settle on any particular sector, there are different things that we look at.
So let's pick one, for example. I just want the people at home to see what we're talking about. And if you're looking at your screen right now, no doubt you see faces much better looking than us here in the studio. That, ladies and gentlemen, is Miss Universe 2023, Madam Shaines Palacios, originally from the nation of Nicaragua, in South America, or Central America as they call it. That is coming to you live from Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. We can see the former sports CS, that is Honorable Ababu Namwamba, who was a patron for the Miss Universe Kenya program. We can see our very own Shiksha Arora, together with some of the other ladies, the Miss Universe Kenya contestants that are actually over there just receiving the very type of woman that they're aspiring to be, Miss Universe. Remember, the competition is to find Kenya's representative to the Miss Universe competition. And the final for the Kenyan event, the Miss Universe Kenya event, is happening tomorrow, on Friday, the 16th, on TV47. All right? As you see some of those beautiful faces, if you're not blessed in that particular category, you most likely will be looking for a job. And now we want to come back and just continue the conversation on the youth and unemployment situation in the country. So, Alvin, let's pick a sector. Let's say
textile.
Textile, for instance. Yeah. So I am a young person. I am interested. Do I have to be interested in it to be trained? Or I just need to show up?
First, show up.
Show up.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so for the textile and apparel sector, we recruit young people with Class 8 dropout, Form 4 dropout, You just need to have an ID.
Okay.
And when you come into our centers, one, we take you through an application process where we're able to collect your details. Once we collect your details, we take you through what we call a screening process. And this screening process has been designed to identify that you're suited for this particular industry. For instance, if you look at the textile and apparel industry, one of the key things that employers are looking for is dexterity, the ability to use your hands. You know, they're looking for visual acuity. Are you able to differentiate colors? Because if you went into a manufacturing plant and you can't tell red and green, then you might be mixing.
That's a problem.
Yeah, so those are the kind of things that we check. Once we've checked that, we also take these young people through a reality check, where we just make them understand what does this industry entail? What are the working hours? What is the remuneration like? And once we've identified that this young person is fit to join the program, then they join the program. And how the class is set up is that it mimics the production line that they will find in the factory. And so in the first week, and this, assuming this is a young person who's never even seen a machine, this is the first time that they're actually interacting with it. We take them through our behavioral and mindset skills training. We take them through the technical skills, where we teach them how to actually do the different operations that employers are looking for. Because we've discussed and aligned with this employer that before someone comes into the factory, I need them to be able to know how to operate 5 machines and maybe 10 operations from those machines. And so we take them through that for a period of 5 weeks. And by the time they are coming out on the last week, in cases where we've done an employer-embedded program, if, for instance, a young person was going to make this suit, that suit is made while they're still in training. So that we mimic what will be happening at the employers. When this young person transitions into employment, we still work with them, because during training, they are being supported by a team of instructors and other support staff. But then once they finish training, they're handed over to another team that supports them with that transition into employment. And we take them through that journey to ensure that they now have a job. But we don't just stop there. We have an entire robust mentorship and an alumni support team that offers psychosocial support, supplementary career development and then coaching skills. And so we work with you across that entire journey and make sure that you're actually working, you have a contract, and if there are any concerns, we have a team that ensures that you're supported. So you're part of this larger community of 30,000 other young people.
Right. Sounds good. And hopefully this is something that can be scaled. This is something that other organizations and other stakeholders can take up as a way of solving the youth unemployment problem.
Yes.
Now, as we head towards the home stretch of this conversation, I want you to share some insights. Share with us some of the success stories. I want you to talk to the people at home who are wondering, okay, how can I get this sort of training? I understand your organization has a great capacity, but it's limited compared to the vast number of people that are looking for opportunities. Are you also able to give the young people at home some tips on how to position themselves from the lessons that you've learned in your pipeline process? Are you able to give some people some do's and don'ts on how to make sure that they're able to match the skills that are on demand, or rather in demand, by the employers in the marketplace? Please.
Thank you so much. Let me start with the question of impact. As I mentioned, at Generation, we look at impact on 3 pillars. One is breadth, and this is the volumes of young people that we support. And as I've mentioned, we have graduated more than 30,000 young people.
30,000.
We have partnerships with more than 350 plus employer partners who've either hired from us once or continue to hire from us. We have a portfolio of 8 programs at Generation. But we don't just look at training, we also look at the depth of that training. More than 84% of this population have been transitioned into employment, and we've seen a 3 to 4 times increase in their incomes at the point of 3 months after training.
Wow.
We don't just stop at that point. For us, one of the other things that we keenly look at is durability. Are these young people still in employment 2 to 6 years after we place them into a job? And from our most recent survey that we did, we are seeing that 74% of our young people are still in employment, 2 to 6 years. A very big percentage of them are satisfied with the jobs that they have, and they have grown. And so I will encourage young people, please look out for the opportunities that we're able to offer at Generation. I think also to encourage them, I don't think that failure at the point of basic education or even secondary school defines your future. I think with the right skills, you can be able to do anything. And that's where partners like Generation come in, to ensure that we are empowering you with the skills that you need, the mindset that you need, to ensure that you're able to not just get your first job, but grow and become a manager. We've seen young people who've come into our programs who didn't even fathom that they can actually become managers. Now they are managers, they are supervisors. They have gone ahead to, out of the salaries they've been getting, to advance their education. So mine will be to encourage young people that please don't lose hope. Seek out for such opportunities. Go to our website, look at the different programs that we have, reach out to our team, and we'll be able to get back to you and support you on how you can be a beneficiary.
All right, and that's Generation. Just give us the website for the people at home.
www.generation.org.
www.generation.org. All right, thank you so much. Now, thank you so much for the insight. Thank you, Mr. Mukabo, for coming. Thank you for the insights you've shared, and for the hope to the people at home. Good people, it's not the end. Even if your education journey was cut short at some point, clearly there is hope. There is a track record. There are people who are able to find opportunities. As long as you take the time to learn what the market requires, equip yourself, or through partners like this, equip yourself, and you'll be able to find a place in the world. We thank you. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen at home, for choosing us to inform you this evening. My name is Victor Muyakane. It's been my pleasure to serve you this evening. Good night.